It all began on a rainy Wednesday afternoon, when I came home early from work to find the house unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you wonder if something's wrong or if everyone has just vanished. I set down my umbrella, shook off the rain from my coat, and called out, "Brad? You home?" My stepson Brad had moved in with me and my husband, Mark, just a few months ago. He was 21, fresh out of college, and struggling to figure out what to do next. Mark was often out of town for work, which meant Brad and I spent more time together than I had expected. We had always had a polite, distant relationship, like two people who were still trying to figure out how to fit into each other's worlds. But that afternoon would change everything. As I walked toward the back of the house, I heard the faint sound of something being dropped. I followed the noise to the garage, where the door was slightly ajar. Inside, I saw Brad hunched over a table, a broken laptop in front of him, and his head buried in his hands. "Brad?" I asked softly. He looked up, startled, his face pale and tired. "Oh, hey, Susan. Didn't hear you come in. Everything okay?" I stepped closer and saw the cracked screen of his laptop. "What happened?" I just dropped it. This thing had all my job applications, my resume, everything. Gone now." He looked devastated. I could feel the weight of frustration and disappointment on his shoulders. I sat down beside him and placed a gentle hand on his back. "That really sucks, Brad. I'm so sorry. But hey, maybe it's not totally lost. We can try to recover the files." "I just feel like nothing's working out," he mumbled. "I've been trying to get a job for months. I don't want to be a burden on you and Dad." My heart softened. I saw not just a young man struggling with tech issues but a person wrestling with his self-worth. "You're not a burden. We want you here. And you don't have to figure everything out at once." I offered to help him set up a new resume on my computer. Over the next few days, we worked side by side, eating snacks at the kitchen counter, laughing over old college photos, and having conversations that slowly chipped away at the walls between us. One evening, after Mark had called to say he'd be away for another week, Brad and I ended up on the back patio with a couple of beers, the warm glow of the string lights giving everything a soft, intimate feeling. We talked about dreams, about failures, about how confusing life felt. He opened up about feeling like he didn't know what his purpose was, like he was just drifting. I listened, not as a stepmother but as someone who cared deeply. "You ever feel like you took the wrong path?" he asked, staring into the dark yard. I nodded. "More than once. But I also believe those detours teach us who we really are." Brad smiled. It was the first real smile I had seen on him in weeks. "You always know what to say." The next morning, I woke up to find Brad had made breakfast. Pancakes, scrambled eggs, even fresh coffee. He looked proud, holding a spatula in one hand and grinning. "Thought I'd surprise you," he said. "Well, I'm definitely surprised," I laughed. Breakfast turned into a morning of errands together, then into an afternoon of deep cleaning the house. We worked like a team, syncing in small ways that felt natural, even comfortable. Something about the shared effort, the mutual respect, and maybe even the emotional intimacy from our recent talks made me feel closer to him than ever before. But as days went by and Mark remained absent, I noticed subtle shifts. Brad started looking at me differently. Lingering glances. Unspoken pauses. I couldn't deny that I noticed them, and perhaps I even returned them without meaning to. It wasn't about attraction in the typical sense. It was connection, emotional and raw. A bond formed in vulnerability, not in desire. Then one night, as we sat in the living room watching an old movie, a scene came on that sparked a conversation about relationships and trust. Brad turned to me and asked, "Have you and Dad ever had hard times?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Of course. Every couple does. Do you ever feel like he's not really present? Like, you're doing life alone?" That question hit deep. Mark had always been reliable, but emotionally distant. Our marriage had slowly become more about routine than love. I sighed. "Sometimes, yes." Brad was silent for a long moment. "I'm sorry. You deserve more than that." I looked at him, this young man who had opened his heart to me, who had let me see his fears and hopes. "So do you. We didn't say anything else that night. The silence was loud with understanding. In the following weeks, things slowly shifted again. Brad got an interview at a local firm, thanks to a contact I had. He nailed it and landed a position as a junior analyst. His confidence started returning, his posture straighter, his energy brighter. Mark eventually came back from his trip, unaware of the emotional journey Brad and I had gone through in his absence. Things at home settled into a new rhythm. Brad started spending more time out, busy with work and making friends. But every now and then, he'd stop by the kitchen while I cooked dinner and say, "Thanks, Susan, for everything." And I'd smile and reply, "You did the hard part, Brad. I just reminded you who you are." Though I never told Mark everything that happened between Brad and me while he was gone, it wasn't out of guilt, it was out of respect for the emotional truths that didn't need to be spoken. Brad and I had shared something powerful, a moment in time when we saw each other clearly, helped each other heal, and redefined what family could mean. That kind of connection, born not of romance but of understanding and empathy, was more profound than anything I could have imagined. Even now, when I look back on those rainy days, I don't see sadness. I see growth. I see two people learning how to stand tall again. And sometimes, that's all we really need, someone who sees us when we feel invisible, and quietly, without asking for anything, offers us more than we ever thought we deserved.